Thank you, everybody, for coming to this latest lunchtime webinar. And we're going to look at templates and what it is that you need to think about when creating templates that work for you. So just a really quick introduction. I think most of you know me anyway. My name's Kathy and I own Memo Proofing, and we provide proofreading, training and support around medico legal report writing. I've been doing this for over 5 years now, and it's built, and I work with a wide range of different medico-legal providers, from rehabilitation service providers to case managers, the whole gamut, and it's brilliant. And as I proofread across so many of these companies and across the industry, that means that I've got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of templates over the years, and the frustration and the cost of poor templates. And it prompted me to offer template creation services because, frankly, it makes my job easier as well for the clients. As it is such a useful tool. To get it right just makes your writing process more efficient and cost effective. It's a supportive tool as well for your colleagues. And so it was a frustration of mine that I often would see this such a useful tool at best underutilized, and at worst creating problems and costing people money. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this recording will go up on my YouTube channel, which is at Memo hyphen proofing, and I will be referring probably to other webinars that I've put on there, and you can see those and go back and watch at your leisure. Okay, so in today's lunchtime session, I want to walk you through my key considerations when creating templates. These are things to really think about and take the time to get right. And I've focused these considerations around this. It's quite trendy, I think, at the moment. This latest, tool for thinking about something. It's something I stole from a finance podcast, and it's called the 3 Fs. And I thought it was really useful to think about. It's a really good thing to think about with your finances, think about the 3 Fs, but you can actually apply it to anything. I thought you can actually apply it to templates as well. So that's the sort of framework that I'm going to be talking you through it today. So the 3 Fs, what are they? It's the fundamentals, the future, and fun. So you can see how that would apply to your finances. Fundamentals, paying the bills that you have to pay. Future, thinking about your pension, think about retirement, think about your goals. And fun, what do you want to do right now to make life bearable and fun and enjoyable? But you can actually apply these 3 Fs to templates. And I would also say to do it in this order. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through them. The fundamentals, the information that you need, what needs to be included in your report, in your document. And if it hasn't got a subheading, if it hasn't got a heading, if it hasn't got a section, chances are you are it's going to be forgotten. The formatting, what does it need to look like? Does it meet the genre expectations? What's the functionality? Does it work? Okay, so we need to consider things like the clarity and readability of your templates. So using clear headings, subheadings, and consistent formatting ensure the report is easy to read. I'm such an English teacher, but I always go on about how your templates and how your reports, are non-fiction texts, and they need to function like non-fiction texts. We break up that information. Can you imagine if some of these really long reports were one long flowing narrative? And there's so many times that I read reports and I think this could have been its own section. Make it easy to navigate by using headings. Make it easy to find the relevant section by using headings that are clear. Thinking about the structure and organization, well, how do you want your template, your reports to flow? What order do you want to present information in? What order is the most useful for the person who is reading it? Standardization, so ensuring that your report, the template will make sure that your reports follow your organizational and your industry standards. And from that, I can't stress enough, a style guide is key to this. Sitting down and really thinking about that detail. How do we want the dates written? How do we want people referred to? What size fonts do we want? How are we going to write the date? You need to think in the fundamentals about your audience. And I mentioned this in another webinar that I did talking about writing for clarity and about how many different audiences, different readers you are writing these reports for. And you need to make sure that you are tailoring the language, tone, and content level to your audiences. We also need to consider when looking at the fundamentals, just the basics, the content sections. Do you want a contents page? Do you want an appendix? Do you want a summary? Where do you want that summary? How are you going to reference things? And building that into your templates means that it's a supportive measure for your team and for yourself when you come to write these. You know you have to put it in because there's a heading there waiting for it, and at the moment it's blank. Visual elements. Are you going to ask for charts, tables? Are you summarizing, say, data from questionnaires? Are you going to involve photographs? What are you going to use that's visual, that's going to support the text? And have you got a space for it? Is it clear where it can go? Is it easy to insert in? Again, this comes back to the style guide, consistency. So maintaining a uniform font style, sizes and alignment throughout the document. If your template is working, then when you click and you start to type, it should be in the right font. It should be in the right size. Getting that template right avoids those sort of errors that are costly and take up time and look unprofessional when they're missed. Obviously, if you know me, you know this is my biggest passion is accessibility. Does your template support accessibility? Does it ensure that your font, that your template and your reports use formats and fonts and colors that are accessible? It's so easy to do. It's so easy to get wrong. But you build in accessibility into the template itself. And also thinking about those with visual impairments in that. I'm going to talk about that in the next section a little bit more. What about brevity and relevance? Does your report template support people, give them enough opportunity to go into the detail where it's needed, but support them so that it isn't repetitive? Does it help them be focused? And then lastly, this is so important, does it work? Are there bugs in your template? Is it too complicated? When you click, does it move over to tab? Have you got that functionality in there so it isn't frustrating to use? A good template should just flow and should be easy to use. And that's the feedback that you're going to want from the people using it. I found it easy to use. I know what I was going to have to write where. I knew where everything was going to go. And when I clicked in a box, it let me write in that box and it wrote in the correct font, the correct size. I didn't need to worry about it. The template was supporting me to create something so professional. So that's the fundamentals. Let's go on to the next F, which is the future. So we've got all the basics right. What else do we need to consider? Well, we need to consider known changes, unknown changes, and the capacity to review and reflect. So known changes, you'll probably know where your business is going. Do you know that you have 3 members of staff coming on board? Do you know that you're changing focus? Do you know that you're changing programs? Unknown changes. What could you reasonably have a good guess that at some point the trend is moving towards more of this? at some point we're probably, I do know the other part of the business over here is looking at this. There's a possibility that we actually might move to more in alignment with this company. And have you built in that time to review and reflect? Because these are live documents that the most useful feedback you will get is from the people who are using them every day, and listen to that feedback and make adjustments as necessary. That's why I always love it when I see templates and it says version 8, because I think, great. If it was just version 1 and nothing's been done, then is it called? I would suggest that it's causing problems and you're not getting the feedback that you need. Okay, so within that future, then think about the adaptability. Can it be easily modified for different purposes of our audiences? So at the moment, a lot of the work I'm doing when I'm creating templates for people is they're saying to me things like, when we're looking at the headings, they're saying, we do deal also though in pediatrics. And so the children's reports are going to have different headings than the adults. We're not going to be talking about workplace. We're going to be talking about education, for a really simple example there. Does your template support that flexibility? Does deleting a heading and adding a new one create problems in it later on, or is it something that's going to be easy and instinctive to use for people? Scalability. You need to design your template to accommodate varying lengths or levels of detail, because as you know, some cases are more complex than others. So you don't want fixed anchored things. You want a document that can grow, expand, and contract as needed. You might want to think about integrating your templates with your existing reporting tools or software. Last thing you want to do is create more work. If you have something that is spitting out a summary over here, is there any way that we can match that up? Especially with AI, I think this is the way it's going. It's something that you don't need to think about. It needs to work from now, but you need to have it in mind. Are we going down a narrow alley here and a dead end in terms of, if we need to relook at this, have we created it in such a way that we're going to have to start from scratch? Or are we giving ourselves scope to develop and change? And also, have we built in the capacity for it to be reviewed and reviewed well? And with that in mind, I would say that, and I know a lot of companies are going towards a Google workspace at the moment. Personally, myself and the associates at Memo, we do not find Google easy to use for proofreading. It's good for collaboration, but it's, in terms of proofreading, it's very bitty, very comment heavy, and we prefer, at the moment, Microsoft. So are you thinking about things like that when you're creating your templates and what you're using to create your templates? You're thinking about every use of it in the future of that document. Are you considering cultural sensitivity in your subheadings? If you're looking to expand, at the moment, you may have a quite clearly defined client base. That may change over time. Have you given yourself scope to expand and change to accommodate multicultural and global audiences? Have you thought about how it could be integrated? Do you know what your CMR tools are? They guaranteed they will be looking at future integrations? Do you know what they are looking at? Have you had a look at their latest updates and see, right, okay, at the moment we're using, say, Qnote, something like that. We're using Qnote. Are you aware what it is that they're looking at? What are they moving towards using? Again, it's something, and you're happy and you're going to stay with them. It's something that you might want to consider having a quick word with them and say, what have you got in the pipeline? What are you working on, so that we can make sure we're marrying up and seeing if there is, again, something that possibly in the future we're leaving ourselves scope to maybe integrate with, or is it something that we're barking up the wrong tree here because nobody else is using that and this is going in this way? It's useful to know. And then, obviously, as always, accessibility. Is this template easy to adapt for different visual needs? So have you tested it in different size fonts? Does this create a lot of formatting work later on, or does it scale easily? As soon as you start enlarging, you are going to have formatting issues. Have you planned for that? Have you thought about maybe creating a separate one where the formatting is okay in a size 18 font, for example? Have you thought about different coloured headings and backgrounds? It's not that you have to have all these different templates there just in case, but it might be worth the first time somebody creates one and it is a size 18, that a blank version of that is saved and shared with the team. Similarly, if you've got different headings on different color backgrounds that looks really nice and aligns with your brand, brilliant. But then you know you have somebody for whom that's going to be visually very challenging, and you remove that. Do you have a version that that then can be saved for future use? So a list of either instructions of how to do that, or upon first creation of those, they then get saved and shared and have an accessibility folder, subfolder for your templates, is something that I would really encourage you to do. It can save a lot of time. You don't want 3 different people working on the same issue. This doesn't make any sense. So, lastly then, for future, just keep a little eye on emerging technologies. So think about the potential for incorporating AI and different interactive elements. It might be something that you can think, again, it's not, you're not going to build your whole template around something that could possibly be in the future, but keep an eye that you're not, like I say, going down a dead end with something, and you don't have to start from scratch. Think about sustainability, thinking about, I feel like a lot of templates at the moment still kind of go on the assumption they're going to be printed out and looked at, or printed out and posted, and it's not the case. They are emailed. How does it read on the screen? How does it on different size screens? Do you know? Do you know how the people who you're sending these reports to, how they're accessing them and sharing them? Think about your design. We're going to come to this in the fun bit. You will probably have at some point changes to branding. You may have, say, for example, get a CQC, QCQ? I can't remember how you say it. You might get that award. You are going to want to put that in your footer. It's going to change. So you're going to need different spacing. You might need different, you might just want to just think, am I, again, making sure that I'm leaving enough space around it so that if it changes, it's a quick change. It's not something we're going to have to go around. We've built it so solidly around this one brand logo that, it, like I say, they do change, that you're going to have to start again. And then also thinking about future staff. You want a template that works for you, but also works for your team and also works for the future team. You need to think about, have you provided supporting documentation or guidance for new staff about how to use it? By the time you finish the template, you know it really well. How are you rolling that out? How are you communicating it? How are you sharing the information and the guidance around how to use it? And then finally, the final F is we've got fun. So this is the fun bit for me. I think it's what it looks like. How is it personalized? Have you got brand colors and style? Have you got a tone of voice that's unique to your business? You can build all this in so it's like recognizable from the other side of the room that this is a template, a report from X. And then also think about like little interactive features as well. Are there any little tips or tricks that you want to put in there that would make it easier for your team, easier to write and easier to read? Do you want to embed videos that start playing as soon as it comes on? Do you want to, as soon as it's opened or is it clicked on? Do you want tables that add up themselves, so you don't have to copy and paste or check individually? So thinking about that as well, is they're the fun bits. I think, like, what would it be? It would be great if. Well, maybe you can do it. So you could have a look. Okay, so that's it from me. I just want to finish off then. So that's the 3 Fs. And these are the ways that Memo can support you in it. We can create some templates for you. We can help create your style guide. We can provide accessibility audits, and I also offer accessibility training so that when you come to write your templates and your reports, you feel really secure in what it is that you need to be doing to make sure that your reports are accessible and inclusive. And I'm offering a 2-hour online course looking at all these areas and more, and how you can make sure you are providing the best possible reports to, as closely as possible, consider everybody's needs. So I hope that's been of use for you, and thank you for coming today. I'm going to end the slideshow there, and let's see, Emily, what did you ask? How do you recommend making one template suit for both children and adults? Do you think fonts? So what I would do in that, so Emily's asking, how do I recommend making a template suit both adults and children? I think it is as simple as offering a list of suggested headings, and that you invite people to delete and add as necessary. I wouldn't use different color fonts, and I wouldn't use like italics in terms of the report itself, but like I say, in terms of inviting people. So on a template, I would have, this is the template, and then like I say, in a different color or in italics, sort of guiding notes for the writer. Don't do it as comments, because people can forget to delete them and you're asking another job. But if they know it's there and it's in a different color, be mindful of all the different people who might not be able to differentiate between those different colors. So a different font or italics is a good idea. To say delete as necessary, or for children, you may consider this. Talk in employment, here's the sort of things we're going to talk about, how they access work, what they do at work, all these different things, what the relationships at work, it's like what responsibilities, the key responsibilities and working hours. But that employment section is actually for the child and education. Have we talked about exam concessions and EHCP, all those different things? So you can, a template that works when somebody goes in and starts then deleting, because they don't need that section, it doesn't mess everything up. And that's why I was talking about the functionality of it. But yeah, I would just have some guidance notes on the document, and then encourage people to feel empowered to change as necessary. I hope that answers it for you there. Great. Okay, Rowan, did you have anything that you would like to ask?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
No. Thank you so much for coming. If I can be of any use whatsoever, then do get in touch. You know where I am. Thank you for coming today. Oh, I can't hear Rowan at all. Sorry. Could you type your question? I don't know why I can't hear you guys. Don't worry, Rowan.
Can you hear me now, Kathy?
I would
No.
I would make it as simple as possible for people to edit. And so you can go through, and I would always have too much on a template that then you have to go and delete sections. And because then it acts as a prompt and a reminder for people to go, oh yeah, I should have done that. But if you have like automated boxes, first of all, like on a it's not to get too technical, but on a Word document, you'd have to have a macro enabled template, which one can send everyone a bit wappy when they open it. It's limited Word in terms of its sort of functionality, in terms of like drop down and what you can do, and then how much you can change the font, and the alignment can go out, so that can cause a lot of formatting issues. So I would just keep, at the moment, who knows, maybe it is something that in the future they'll be able to do. But at the moment, I would keep it simple with delete as necessary options on there. Does that answer your question, Rowan? Does that help? Yeah, so Emily said that yeah, new case managers can feel a little bit that they're not allowed to delete or don't mess with the template. Yeah, I'd say that is a training need and that they feel empowered to delete as necessary. So even something like if rather than say, because I've proofread reports before where it says like not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, ops for a page, and you go like just delete it, just get rid. So yeah, I'd say that's a training need of saying that's not a good use of time or money. And just yeah, and make them feel empowered to do that. You could do color coding, but I'm a bit against color coding just because Rowan said, could you do color coding for adults or peds? And I would say, yeah, I would be really for the same reason I would be against color coding it. I would literally just say under this section, it's either educational or workplace or employment, and delete as necessary within that. And then if you are writing about employment, here's what you're going to include. If it's education, here's what you're going to include in your prompts. And then again, delete as necessary. But also, I mean, I would say this, but as a proofreader, you can also know that if you let the proofers know, we'll just delete any sections you don't need and we can delete as necessary as well. If a lot of the time I do kind of sometimes go through and take out the guidance notes for it's part of the proofreading service because the audience doesn't need to see those if they've been left in or forgotten. Yeah, so Rowan's saying you can just get a little bit skip on down, can't you? Because your eye kind of when you know it very well, you can skip over it. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the answer to that would be. This sort of familiarity with the template can lead to errors as well. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Might have a little think about that because I'm not really sure about what the answer is there. Yeah, I agree. 'Cause Rowan's saying swear that regular use of the same template, you can become word blind of what's coloured or highlighted. And you stop reading the guidance, don't you? Um, so yeah. I would say that they do need regular updating. So you can say to people, we are, every 6 months we're reviewing the templates because you should have been able to get after obviously 3 monthly updates, 6 monthly updates, should have had a few people go through that system, or you should have been through it yourself enough times to go, that is a bugbear, that is something we're correcting a lot, that's something that we're missing out. The template isn't supporting that, we're updating it. And maybe when you do that, you do something as simple as change the guidance colours. And change the font, change the wording a bit, and ask people and give people the time to refamiliarize themselves with it. That could be a potential solution to that.